Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's we'll be comparing the Ford F-150 Tremor to the Chevy Silverado Trail Boss to see who makes a better off-road pickup. Before we get into this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Ford here in Provo and the Chevy here in Provo for giving me some time with both of these trucks. I'll include a link to their website in the description down below, or their websites rather, in the description down below. Also include a link to my car buying guide as well. Let's get into it. Under the hood, we have a naturally aspirated 6.2 liter V8 that goes through a 10-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 14 around town and then 17 on the highway, with power outputs being 420 horsepower and then 460 pound-feet of torque. And then under the hood of the Ford is the EcoBoost, so 3.5 liter twin-turbo V6, also goes through a 10-speed. Fuel economy 16 around town and then 21 on the highway, with power outputs being 400 horsepower and then 500 pound-feet of torque. Before we move forward with this comparison, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So taking a look at the Trail Boss, you can see you've got that raised section there in the center that's all blacked out, pretty cool looking. And then look at the headlight design here. Chevy bow tie in the center. Got the red recovery points down below with the fog lights as well. A lot of fancy painted parts for an off-road pickup truck if you ask me. Popping out of the Ford, we got a lot of the same. So got hood vents there. Notice how the headlights are darker in coloration. And you got the fog lights down below. At least you got that visible bash plate. But yeah, look at that bumper. Body painted. Fancy piece to get all scratched up out in the wilderness. But anyways, let me know which front end you like best. Now around the side here, our turning wheel setup is 265 by 60 by 20 in the front and over in the rear. And then with the Ford, it's 275 by 70 by 18 in the front and over in the rear. So I will say the Trail Boss is kind of more of a mall crawler setup. I mean, it does have all-terrain tires. Those are aggressive, but yeah, not a lot of sidewall on these tires, especially when you compare it to the Ford with these 18-inch wheels. But yeah, look at those, the tread pattern. Now, you can see we've got the F-150 Tremor badge on the Chevy Z71. Notice the mirror caps are both darker in coloration. We've got fixed side steps on the Ford, no side steps on the Chevy. And then look at the bodies with both of them. Both have the standard kind of body, narrow body, is what you might call it. Now they both have leaf springs in the rear. The Chevy uses Rancho shocks. The Ford uses twin tube here in the back. Here's the side profile with the Ford. And then here's the side profile with the Silverado. Now popping to the bed of the Silverado, you've got protection from the factory. This one has the multi-pro tailgate that drops down as a step. We've got some LED lights here, got a grab handle, full outlet in the bed as well. But yeah, solid bed space. Now you do have to lift this up. Not too bad, a little bit more weight with that multi-pro, but not bad at all. And then popping over to the Ford, no protection from the factory with this, but we do have lights here. We've got an outlet as well. And then the Ford has the tailgate step, and then it's got this fancy auto raise function. Now finishing things up with the rest of the rear. So with the Ford, we've got the new taillight design here. But my favorite part with this Tremor package is the dual exhaust tips. Then you got recovery points as well on the back. With the Chevy, no like big chunky recovery points sticking out, but we do have the dual exhaust tips. A little bit boxier with the design, got the bumper steps too. So it's a little bit different with both of the back ends. So here's a quick look at the legroom here. You can see the little storage pocket. We got some cup holders, vents here in the back, a little charging port as well. Cool camo print on the seats with the Tremor. And then you got like the gold stitching there on the door panel as well. And then headroom back here is good. Now the back of the Chevy, good legroom. Got some cup holders here. See the vents and the USBs and all of that. And look at these seats here, pretty cool. Got a little storage area there, but yeah, easier to clean than what you have with the Ford. You can see with the door panel there with all the nice trim. And then headroom, it's good. Now taking a look at the front door panel, you can see with the stitching throughout. All of our window controls, front door automatic. You got the mirror adjustments, and then you can see with the mirrors they do have blind spot monitoring. B&O sound system. 1,577 pounds of payload. And then here's the front seat. You can see Tremor there. Got that camo print, all of your adjustments on the side. And then you can see with the light controls here, you've got your mirror lights, pedal adjustment, steering wheel's manually adjustable. Stepping in, not too shabby. See what the door's like, closing it. Pretty solid. Start her up. Ooh, that's fun. So full digital gauge cluster in the Ford, kind of a fancy feature to have. And then the steering wheel is soft touch all around. It's got more of that kind of gold stitching. We got stuff like adaptive cruise control, got controls for the center, and then this does come with a 360 camera system. It also comes with Ford's trail control, which is off-road cruise control. As for the infotainment system in the Ford, it's quick to respond for the most part. It does take a second for some of the pages to load up. I mean, look at that nav screen. Definitely took a moment. And then, don't need that. Pro Trailer Assist. And then we've got a trailer brake controls, driveline select, just a traditional 2-speed transfer case with a rear locker. Dual zone climate, heated seats, wireless phone charging pad. You can see the shifter here, some cup holders. And I like the trim on the outside of the glove box. I think that's pretty cool looking. And then with the center console here, got storage. And then we've got this for the power setting rear window. And then you got 6 auxiliary switches up top here in the Tremor. And this leads us to the Chevy. You can see with the trim here, tight fit and finish. And then you can see with the mirror adjustments and all of that, blind spot ring with the mirrors. Payload on the Chevy is 1647. And then here's the seats. Again, easy to clean with the design. Now this actually has an advanced 4-wheel drive system, so it has 4-wheel auto as well as 4-wheel high and low. And then you've got your light controls, steering wheel is manually adjustable. Popping in, it's pretty easy, no side steps though. And let's see what the door's like. Solid. Start her up. Ooh, V8! Can't go wrong with a V8. So full digital gauge cluster, just like what you have in the Ford. You got stuff like adaptive cruise control. It's actually just paddle shifters on the back. And then 360 camera system, which is cool. And then as for Chevy's infotainment system, just got to go through the little demo page. It's easy to use. I'd say pretty similar response time to what you have with Ford, shortcut bar on the side. And then you got a bunch of physical buttons down below. Important stuff, I'd say: tailgate drop down, hill descent, control, roll down all the windows at once. I always think that's a funny feature. And then this does not have a selectable rear locker like the Ford. It's the G80, so it locks itself when it thinks it needs to be locked. And then we've got trailer brake controls, dual zone climate with heated seats. We're just going to turn that off right now. And then you can see with the shifter here, some cup holders. And then over to the center console. Ford's is probably a little bit bigger with the storage space. You can see the nice trim on the glove box. And there's also a nice trim across the dash. Power setting window with this, and we don't have like a bunch of fancy auxiliary switches in this one. So as equipped, that Trail Boss sticker is for about 71K. That Ford sticker is for just under 68K. Let's see how they drive. Visibility before you set off. Just visibility of the hood. Put the mirrors to a blind spot ring. And throughout the rest of the rear. Let us set off in the F-150. See how this compares to the Boss of Trails. So first off, Ford, modern Fords drive very car-like. Funny enough, I looked at the weights the other day of some pickup trucks, and Fords are light, but so are Chevys, actually. Chevys and GMCs. They're not as chunky as I thought they were, despite the fact that they feel pretty chunky. Now, it depends on what powertrain you have in the Fords. If you get the hybrid powertrain, that's where it gets pretty heavy. With this not being the hybrid, it's going to be a little bit lighter. You know, battery packs are heavy. Good torque. Smooth ride. I think Ford does a really good job with their truck suspension when it comes to daily drivability. Fords drive very, very car-like, and we'll get our acceleration here. Yeah, it's quick. It's quick with that twin-turbo V6. So not too shabby at all. Yeah, it's just a nice drive. So with the Tremor, it drives pretty much like a regular F-150. You get a little bit from those all-terrain tires. I can kind of feel them chunking out the road every so often, but overall, it's pretty pretty much a regular F-150 when it comes to the driving. So with that being said, let's compare that to the Boss of Trails. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Just visibility with the hood, both mirrors, throughout the rest of the rear. And let's set off in the Chevy. First off, definitely sounds better. 6.2 V8, naturally aspirated. Sounds better than a vacuum cleaner V6. Don't get me wrong, that Ford's got plenty of power, gets good fuel economy, but it's still a vacuum cleaner. Whereas this, and listen to that. It's the most American thing I've heard today. Man, I'm gonna get in trouble with the Ford people. But anywho, Chevy has a solid feel. Some things that I like about the Chevys is they just feel solid and planted. And I will say the hood bulge, as cool as it looks, it does get in the way of visibility a bit. Smooth ride. Still got a smooth ride. You know, with all these full-size pickup trucks, I wouldn't say that one's more comfortable than the other, per se. They're all pretty comfy. Basically luxury vehicles at this point. And the seats in the Ford weren't really that more, like, these are softer for Chevy seats, so they're pretty comfortable. So it doesn't have that same torquey push right off the bat, but it's got that V8 instant response. So it feels good. Drives well. So with this comparison, okay, Chevy, wheels, why? Don't put 20-inch wheels in an off-roader. It's stupid. And then also the front end of this, it's way too fancy for an off-road truck. Come on, make it more aggressive. Like the ZR2 even has a lot of painted stuff. The only time you get, or sorry, the only Chevy that really has like a true off-road front end is the ZR2 Bison in terms of Silverados. So I don't know why Chevy's painting so much stuff. It's silly to me. In terms of drive, I know the EcoBoost is going to get a little bit better fuel economy, but I just like V8s. They sound good. They're responsive. It's cool also. And then as for the rest of the truck, both drive well, both capable off-road. So I think it's going to come down to whether you want a V8 or if you want a little bit more torque, that V6. Fuel economy, you know, if that's a concern of yours. And also what you can be using the truck for, to an extent. The Ford is probably going to end up being a little bit more capable off-road than this Chevy, just because of that tire and wheel setup being a little bit better for off-roading. And then also, I think selectable lockers are always better than automatic systems. The automatic systems, you always have to work with them a bit. So let me know if you'd go Tremor or Trail Boss.